Mitt Romney emerged from the bottom of almost every national poll for president with a $23 million campaign haul last quarter. That's a total that put him way out in front of his Republican competitors and nearly on par with the mighty Clinton money machine. So how does an also-ran raise so much cash? Well, the New York Times reports that 15% of Romney's first quarter mother lode came from the state of Utah, home of the Mormon Church. Will his faith affect his run for the White House? And is he, in any case, now the unlikely frontrunner on the Republican side? Here to discuss it is the host of the nationally syndicated Hugh Hewitt Show and the author of A Mormon in the White House, 10 Things Every American Should Know About Mitt Romney, Hugh Hewitt. Welcome, Hugh.
Tucker, good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Congratulations. You're one of the very few people I talked to who had any kind of faith that Mitt Romney was a serious contender. You were right. I want to put up on the screen actually a graphic of yesterday's numbers on the Republican side just to give some context here. Romney, as you can see, raised $20 million, 21 actually, I think. Rudy Giuliani, 15. John McCain, 12.5. All of this while Romney was in single digits in the polling. How did he do that?
Well, the fact is he raised $23 million, but he gave himself a loan of $2.3, so the real number is closer to $21 million, Tucker.
Right.
He did it because he applied Bain Company tactics to fundraising. This is an approach I detail in the book that he learned at Bain Consulting and Bain Capital in the 90s and the 80s that applies to networking through the highest levels of business. I'd also point out that 15% number from Utah is a little misleading because while it's the capital of the LDS, it's also where he led the very successful turnaround of the Olympic Games in 1998 through 2002.
Right.
When Romney got there, it was flat on its back, broke, no sponsors, scandal everywhere, and he went to work and impressed everyone in Salt Lake City, basically saved their city's reputation.
And yet, but there is a religious component. His campaign has said so. His campaign spokesman said today, he said, look, you know, Greek Americans gave to Mike Dukakis, Jews gave to Lieberman, of course Mormons are going to give to Mitt Romney, and the campaign has said that Utah was one of their big money states. So given that, there's been some squirreliness on the part of the campaign to address the question of his religion. Understandably, it's his faith. He shouldn't have to talk about it in public if he doesn't want to. But now that it clearly is a component to his campaign strategy, does he need now to come out and talk openly about what it means to be a Mormon?
Well, he did talk openly about it to me and at great length. He was a missionary for the Mormon Church for 30 months in France between Stanford and BYU. He's a very proud member of his faith. He was a ward bishop. He was the president of the stake. He's a very serious Mormon. On the other hand, I don't think we ask people about theology. I'm just saying that when we look at the Utah numbers, it is a little bit like Greek Americans supporting Dukakis or Jewish Americans supporting Lieberman, or a New York Times study today about the black elite of Chicago going in overwhelmingly for Barack Obama. Those are things to celebrate, not to get suspicious about. I thought the New York Times had a little bit of anti-Mormon.
Well, I don't know. Wait, hold on. I mean, I don't think, I know that that'll be trotted out. It's anti-Mormon. I'm not anti-Mormon. But I do think it's relevant. I mean, it's when the church, that church or any other church or any other faith enters into a political context, I think it becomes of interest to the rest of us.
That's not fair. The Mormon Church, like the Catholic Church, like the Presbyterian Church, has absolutely nothing to do with politics. They put it on the front of their website. Every Mormon official I tried to talk to about this said, no, we don't do politics. Talk to Harry Reid, talk to Mitt Romney, our two highest, most prominent Mormons, talk to Orrin Hatch, but don't talk to us. And I think what's important is that we not confuse that boundary. When Jack Kennedy set up the campaign in 1960, he went down to Houston, talked to the Baptist ministers and said, you're not electing a pope, you're electing the president. Same rules apply to Mitt Romney, and I'm a little bit worried, though. I talked to Doris Kearns Goodwin about this for the book, that we are breaching that great wall about private religious practice as opposed to ideology and beliefs. And one thing to watch about these Romney numbers or at mittromney.com when they release the online contributions is for every Mormon that put into those 33,000, you're going to find a non-Mormon.
That's right. No, that's absolutely right. And I'm not suggesting it's only Mormons supporting him. I do finally wonder, though, these numbers show strong support of Romney by donors. Where are the poll numbers that show voters in large numbers are supporting him? He's still being beaten in every poll I've seen by Fred Thompson, who's not even running. When are we going to see real movement in the polls?
Well, you won't say. I don't think he'll go into other than low double digits or high single digits until January, just before Iowa. I think he's doing a trampoline campaign just like Jimmy Carter did. I think it will work, by the way. Howard Dean got all the numbers and then didn't deliver in Iowa. Romney's doing it the old-fashioned way, which is win, raise resources, and do a burn rate like Ronald Reagan did. Put it all in up at the front. So I don't ever expect Gallup to show an unknown governor from Massachusetts close to Rudy Giuliani, for whom I have a great deal of admiration, because everybody knows Rudy. pretty, and most Americans love him. Same deal with John McCain. So I think he's running the kind of campaign that a come-from-behind but first-tier candidate has to run, and thus far, with the CPAC endorsement, with the endorsement of Republican insiders, he won that poll as well, and now this phenomenal number, he's established himself as clearly in the front ranks, and I think the story of yesterday is that John McCain's fallen like a comet.
Looks that way. Hugh Hewitt, The Hugh Hewitt Show. Thanks a lot, Hugh. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tucker.